Hi YouTubers, and welcome to this rather, well, warmer February day. And I've got the doors open behind me so you can hear the birds and everything. So I'll try, anyway, beside the point. What am I doing here today? Well, recently about 3 months ago, I did a video called Why Do We Not All Like Islam? And it's been pretty well received, really. It was the Blasphemous Frogs. You know, why do we not all like Islam? That one. So go back and see it if you haven't seen it. But the thing is, it's been, yeah, to be honest, it hasn't had a lot of hate mail or anything like that. But we did have one particular user who left a comment on there saying that you don't understand Islam, you know, that sort of thing. I just said back, well, educate us then. Educate us, and if I'm wrong, I'll take the video down. And this particular user, MoMoney012, he has replied with several, you know, I don't know, about 4 lots, about 2,000 words, in the best way he could. And I shan't be taking the video down, I'm afraid. And I'm going to point out why. First of all, let's just have a look at what he said, because he's not actually one of those YouTube users that actually makes videos, which is a shame. I hope you do, and then I can, you know, sort of say, well, I don't agree with you on that one on your videos, you know, if I like. But right, he says, I really do not know where to begin. Islam is based around the Quran, a beautiful piece of work based around love and peace. No. No, it's not, really. If you look at the Quran, if you have a good look at it, and certainly the Hadith and things like that, I wouldn't say it's a beautiful piece of work based on love and peace. It may be considered as love and peace if you happen to be a Muslim. It support Islam, as it were. But it's not a beautiful piece of work if you're outside Islam. Obviously, you could say, well, join Islam then. No, it's not even beautiful, in my opinion, when you join Islam. And we'll probably get to that later. But I cannot agree with you at all that it is a work of love and peace. And it's often interpreted wrongly if that's what you think. I can't help that. Right. Of course, the Bible is as well. The Bible is not really a work of love and peace, especially the Jewish version, you know, the Old Testament. It's a fairly horrific work. But of course, I'm sure if I asked a Jew, he'd say, well, it's really a work of love and peace, just as long as you worship God. Anyway, I shall go on because that's not really the most important part you've got. Islam is based around the Quran. We've got that. They do say Jesus or Moses were heretics. They do not say that Jesus or Moses were heretics or anything. Fine, you know, it doesn't really matter. Perhaps they were. It doesn't bother to me. I'm an atheist. So the Christian side of things is just as nonsensical, really, as the Muslim side of things, or the Islamic side of things, as I should put it. Also, of course, Islam is based upon the Judeo-Christian God as well. It's just another version. Your ancestors, if you happen to follow that line of Islam, Muslim line back far enough, you'll probably find that your ancestors were in fact Jews, or at least a derivative of the Jewish faith. So here we go. Goes on. You tried to say that Islam hates everyone based on current events. No, not really. You know, Islam's always been fairly hating of most people that aren't with Islam since its conception, really. It was based, obviously, historically, Islam spread by the sword in its earlier days. Came up against some fairly stiff opposition. If you go back to things like the Moors that invaded through southern Europe, they came up against some pretty stiff opposition in sort of Spain, El Cid and all that lot, and were eventually pushed back to Africa. But there's been plenty of wars. Also, I mean, let's go to the Crusades. I'm not apologising for the Crusades. Nothing to do with me. I'm not a Christian. My ancestors were, mind you. And no doubt some of them probably supported the Crusades. But things have moved on since then. I don't really care about what my ancestors did. Things move on. And Islam, it seems, does not. And this is a particular issue that I want to cover. So let's have a look. We'll go into something else. I've lost my spot. Bear with me. Okay, it says, why not look at history? Jews and Christians were not persecuted in any ways. Any way it is, but okay. Anyways, weren't they? Can you actually, hand on heart, say that Jews and Christians were never persecuted in any way in Muslim countries? I certainly couldn't say that Muslims weren't persecuted in Christian countries. I couldn't say that they weren't persecuted in Jewish countries. I'm sure they were. Certainly the Jews, of course, were particularly persecuted and still are today in many countries. There's always a bit of rivalry, isn't there, between the religions, it seems. Which is why I'm not in that frame of mind. I don't believe in gods. When I look at things politically, I try to reason them out without a god in that in the situation, because it seems that gods don't really help. And anyway, we'll get there again in a minute. I'll sum all this up in a moment. Bear with me. Okay, well, he finishes that bit by saying that Jews and Christians were not persecuted and always full citizens as long as they paid their taxes. Right. Okay. Right. Okay. Right. So, name me a country where Muslims are persecuted in the sense of not full citizens so long as they pay their taxes. In fact, in many countries they don't pay any taxes at all and are still full citizens. Here in Britain we've opened our arms to all the Muslim faith. In fact, nearly all the people of the world. It may be slightly more difficult to get into this country than it used to be, but not much. It's a very, very cosmopolitan country to be in now, as indeed is America. I don't know of any American laws that are banishing Muslims from doing anything. In fact, we've let a whole, well, thousands, I think, certainly many hundreds of mosques in this country. They've not been stopped being built. I can name a country where you couldn't build a church. Saudi Arabia, for instance. That is somewhere where you can honestly say that you would be persecuted if you were to build a church, for instance, or even, of course, a Jewish temple, a synagogue, anything like that. Then you would be arrested. In fact, some Muslim countries are so accommodating. I'm personally thinking, oh, that's nice. I can take a little trip to Medina. I'll take my dog along, and see how welcome I am. So don't give me that crap. It's just crap. Okay, so some countries, Muslim countries sometimes, and in fact most of the time, do allow other faiths within it. But I doubt whether they'd let them have political power in it. You go on anyway. Okay. And I heard you speak, this is probably more important, and I heard you speak, it jumps then to the next bit, of Sharia law in there. It is not different than the laws a government puts on people. Is it not different? Sharia law is based entirely upon scripture. It's based upon a scripture that's at least 1,600 years old type scripture. And it's there in black and white. It can't be changed. Nothing can change in that. It can be interpreted in different ways, but you can't eradicate the writing and say, well, we'll take that out and we'll write this in again. Other laws of the world are based upon reason, are based upon political debate. Somebody comes along and says, well, this is a good idea. Somebody else says, maybe it's not a bad idea. You balance up whether it's a good idea or a bad idea. Even things like slavery, even these things which have been almost eradicated from the world, I believe it's still possible, but certainly in the civilized world, slavery isn't really a problem anymore. But the biblical works, not just the biblical works, there are mentions of slavery in all the old texts. Other things like women, rights for women, rights for homosexuals, things like that. These things have moved with reasoning. They've moved. Just 100 years ago in Britain, there was a women's suffrage movement, the suffragettes. It really came into its own when the First World War broke out and women were needed really more as a workforce. And people began to realise that women weren't just baby machines. They weren't things that did the washing up, the hoovering. Well, I didn't have hoovering then, but they don't just clean up and do the cleaning. Women have brains. Yes, they do. It's hard to believe, but yes, and some of them are very intelligent. Some of the best conversations I have are with intelligent women. Some of the dumbest are also with women, but then you could say the same about men. The thing is, intellectually, there's not that much difference between men and women. The only difference is men are stronger. Men can beat women. Men can force them to do things through physical strength, and physical strength is never a true reason. You're never right by bullying somebody. It's never right. It can't be right. And this puts me back to, I'm going off a little bit on the tangent, so I'm going to go back to Sharia law. Sharia law is there, it's black and white, but much of it has been superseded in the rest of the world. It's now considered barbaric. Everyone should be treated the same. We all have personal freedoms. It's true that we're not ever really going to have freedoms in the sense of there's always going to be somebody, a country has a political power. At least through debate, at least through democracy. And I don't always think democracy works, but through democracy there's always the chance of changing things. You then go on to accuse me of being racist. This is not good. This is not good at all. You seem to think that Islam is a race. Islam is an ideology. Islam is as much a race as communism is. Now, you might not believe in communism. You might say, well, communism's wrong, but you wouldn't call somebody racist because they didn't believe in communism, would you? And this is the thing. I don't believe in Islam. I don't believe in the ideology. I don't believe in any of the nonsense that it's spurted out, based upon some camel dwellers in a desert 1400 years ago, where it was 1600 years ago. I can't honestly, you can't say it's the same thing. Sharia law is not just a law. Sharia law is based upon an ancient belief. You have to change laws now and again. There become more and more people in the world. People cheat. They find loopholes. And they go, hang on, that's a loophole in the law. We must fix that loophole. And they debate about it. And then they discuss it. And then they change it. You can't say it's fair that a rape victim has to have, I can't remember, it's 3 or 5 witnesses. 3, I think it is. 3 witnesses to a rape victim. Or more if it's a woman or something like that. These are ridiculous, bloody, stupid laws. And no, I don't think it's the same thing. And I am speaking up against them. I speak against them because they're wrong. And I think if you actually think about it, if you actually, in your head, think, he's got a point, just even if it's just a small point, then I'm starting to break through to you. You see, religion and what it does is, why do you need to go, for instance, to pray 5 times a day? Well, it says so in my religion. Well, why? Because they want to thrust their ideologies at you. And who are these they, as it were? Well, obviously they're the people in power of religions. The imams, if you like, the ayatollahs. These are the people that control. They're mind controllers. And by controlling that, then they can control the law, which is why law should be kept separate. You can believe what you like. You can believe all this nonsense. And it is nonsense. You can believe all that. That's fine. But don't start getting political. And don't start calling me a racist, because that makes me angry. Because, as I said, I'm no more a racist for my ideology than somebody who criticises Nazis. Okay? So don't start that one. If you want to look at racism, just look at certain religions. Look at Islam, for instance, describing Jews as pigs, Jews and Christians, pigs and apes, you know? It's there. So, isn't that racist? I'd say it was. It's only words. It wouldn't hurt me, but some people get offended, badly offended. You know? And I suppose they get offended by me saying, I'm sorry, but Allah doesn't actually exist. But that's my opinion, isn't it? And that's what it's about, opinion, trying to spread opinion, trying to spread thoughts through the world so that you think about what you're saying. Okay? Right, let's go on. Okay, you go on. It's funny how you look at a head turban or a headscarf and see an enemy just because they are different. You wouldn't even think twice when you see a nun. It's no different than telling African Americans that they can't go to a certain bathroom. Well, for starters, African Americans going to a certain bathroom, I take it you're talking about the sort of American segregation that went on years ago, and no doubt it happened in Britain at one time, although I can't actually remember that ever happening. No, it didn't happen in Britain. It certainly happened in South Africa and things like that. But that was all changed, and it was changed by reason, but it was changed by thinking, and it was changed by debate. Just like I said earlier, with the laws, things that change. If it had been, and obviously these were things that were wrong. Right, to say that I think differently of somebody if they are wearing a turban or a headscarf or a nun, who I wouldn't think, do you know, when I see a nun, I think there goes a complete prat. And when I see somebody in a turban, I think, oh, another bloody prat. And when I see somebody in a bloody headscarf, I think there's another prat. But I don't think, oh, I hate them. I just think there's somebody else that's bloody fallen into this stupidity of religion. That's what I think. I do. I think they're stupid. In the sense of haven't reasoned it out, haven't thought it out, and certainly know nothing really about the world except for their little misguided view given to them by some priest or nun or imam or ayatollah. People that, and all these things have been disproved. So do I think differently? Well, I don't hate them, but I you know, when I see people wearing, and I see it all the time, every day, you see someone wearing the crucifix from where I'm around, they're wearing a crucifix. Yeah, or sometimes it's just a cross, sometimes it's got a man on it, pinned to two pieces of wood. And I think that's pretty grotesque, to be honest. I think they've lost this. They don't see it as grotesque. They see it as some sort of symbol of love. Why? I don't know. Stars and moon are much better. This is what I said in the video. Stars and moon, nice, you know, real things. You seem to think I'm a Christian. I'm not. I don't believe in any of this nonsense. And yes, I do actually think some people haven't reasoned it out. That doesn't necessarily make them stupid, and I did say stupid, but it does mean they haven't reasoned it out yet. It means they haven't woken up yet to the reality of what they're doing and what they've fallen into. And I debate this, and I have this channel on YouTube where this sort of debate goes on. Okay, let's go on to the next bit. Bear with me. Okay, I have actually missed a bit out, something where you go on about this war. This war, I think you're talking about some sort of religious war. That's not something which I obviously want. I am not a religious person. I'm trying to point out that without the religion, you probably wouldn't get that war. You certainly wouldn't get all this argument, my God's better than your God. It's, over here it says, we also say that something about my white superiority. Have I ever mentioned my white superiority? Have I ever said anything about that? No, I don't think whites are superior to blacks. Or yellows or whatever racist colour we want to pick up. People are people. Some are stupid, some are not. Everybody's different. Everybody individually is different. Some have long noses, some have flat noses, some have big ears, some have earlobes, some don't. People are different, and people do think in different ways, which is why we have to, I fight my side of the corner, okay? I see that my non-belief is actually a bonus. It's something which I know how things work in the world. I understand how things work in the world. I've got a telephone call. I've got to come back to this. Sorry about that. Totally off me rocker now. Lost the thread, as it were. However, let's go back. Well, no, it's not. Let's finish this. Don't you dare call me racist. I am definitely not racist. I do dislike the ideology of religions. Yes, that's what atheism to me is about. I'm quite prepared, and I'd be perfectly happy to see religion disappear from the world. Yes, I would. I don't like religion, but there are plenty of my friends that are religious, and I'm happy to debate with them. I am always happy to debate with people about religion. They can give me their opinion, and I will give them mine. And I, so far, have done this many, many times, and no one has persuaded me that there is a God. If there is a God, leave it to God to decide, to tell me he's there, or her. But certainly, you're never going to convince me unless I have some proof. And there's never been any proof so far. So, despite that, don't you dare use those bloody racist cards against me. That really pisses me off. And there is no reason for that, because I have never considered myself racist. Nowadays, it's flung at you for criticising anybody of a different race or anything. I am criticising the ideologies. I am criticising the religion. What people do outside that, couldn't give a shit, to be honest. But if you live your life and it affects me, then I'm going to say something about it. And Sharia law certainly would affect me. And there are plenty of people in this country who would like to see Sharia law. And I'm going to speak up against it. Okay? So, I'm not taking the video down because I still stick with everything that's in it. I'm not going to hate dogs because some imaginary friend told me I mustn't like them. That's the sort of thing that you can really hate by thinking that way. Okay, I'm going. I've mumbled my way through the end of this, but I hope you get the gist. Peace anyway.